Okay. What I have here is it's a wheel bearing from a 2010 Ford Explorer, and this is the flange side that bolts to the vehicle that does not rotate. This is obviously the wheel side, which does rotate, and so this bearing is bad. And I've gone through 4 of these now. I'm having the 4th one is being replaced today. I replaced this one because it was not under warranty. I found out the one being replaced today is not under warranty either. Did you know that parts that are replaced under warranty are not warranted? I didn't know that. I found that out today. If I had paid for the repair, it would have been replaced for free. But since I did not pay for the repair, as it was replaced under warranty, it's not warranted. So even though it wore out before the 2-year warranty period, I got to pay for the repair. I'm not happy about that. I don't remember reading that in the fine print, but I am going to make a note of that, and somebody's getting a letter. Okay. Is that going to affect my decision on whose car I buy in the future, or whose warranty I extend? Damn right it is. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we want to find out why this failed. I mean, I know why it failed. It's 1/4 the mass of the bearing that was in my Jeep. I love my Jeep Wrangler. No, not a Wrangler, Cherokee. But anyway, it's much smaller than that. So the way this bearing was formed is that this inside hub came through here and was well, I wouldn't say peened over. It was pressed. It was cold formed. And so the only way to get this bearing apart is that this mushroom on this side needs to be machined off. So we're going to do that first. I've already started. I've taken about 1/8 of an inch off, and I've got a couple more passes to do. So let's do that. Okay. First time using my new universal ball mount on my camera, which I like very much. Touch off. Come in about 10. Now, before I completely remove this, I do want to look at something. This was the front left wheel. It was mounted like so, with the tone wheel wheel speed sensor mounted toward the rear of the vehicle. And in this position, I'm assuming that the wear would be predominantly lower inside bearing, top outside bearing. That would be the way the wheel would be loaded. Let me back this up. That would be the way the wheel would be loaded this way. Okay, pulling out on the bottom, pushing in on the top. The center of the wheel is out here. And so if I spin this up and I load it that way, I'm not feeling any particular roughness in that position. When it slows down though, I can feel it rumble. I can feel the race rumble. Now let me turn it around the other way. Yeah, and it does feel a little smoother. Okay, so I probably do have some damage in the race. So let's continue cutting this and get this apart and see what we can see. I was not able to find any information on how they form this. but I noticed that it does feel softer on the inside part here, which was not rolled over. And when I get to the outside part, it feels, it cuts definitely a little harder out there. So I'm wondering if they have some cool induction heating process whereby they selectively heat a small area of the spindle before they press it. Okay, that's it. Now, there's the last little piece that came off. Do I want to go a little more? I think I can go a little more. There's probably a chamfer there that's filled. So I'm gonna cut just a little more. Yep, sure enough, there was a chamfer that was pretty well filled there. Okay, so there's the chamfer. The piece that I took out that was in the chamfer. And this doesn't focus close very well. So I should be able to press that out now. Go outside and do that. Okay, so now we're out at the 20-ton press, and we're just going to go right on and see about pressing this out. A little bit of a crude setup, but I don't expect a lot of resistance here. It moved. It's definitely coming apart. It dropped out. Well, before I lose these parts, now I may have broken the cage as part of the pressing it out. And there was a little bit of lip. Let's get this apart and get it cleaned up and see what we can see. Well, here's what we found. We cleaned it up a little bit, and this is the outside bearing, and it's really looks fine. It's immaculate. No, there's the slightest, and that's a dirt smudge on there. There's the slightest indication of maybe a little discoloration, I wouldn't say real heating, but surface finish is fine. There's no evidence of scoring or spalling or flaking or any of that nonsense. Similarly, the inside race on this front bearing, and it's dirty, so, but if I wipe it clean, it's fine. It's just the way a bearing should look. However, when I pull apart the inside bearing, this is the this would be where the half shaft comes through from the transmission. I see evidence of seal failure. It appears that water has gotten in here and done its thing. Is that possibly burnt grease? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think what I'm looking at is that coloring is rust. You can see the clean blue grease between the inside and outside bearing is blue, and the rest of the stuff is brown and icky, and it looks very much like rust in there. So when I get it cleaned off, we'll have a better look at the surface. Obviously there's some surface damage here because the bearing was noisy, very noisy. I mean, it felt like it was going to come apart. In fact, I think if I look right there, I think I see, yeah, I see quite the pit. Quite the pit. The tool catches in it. So we'll clean this up and see what that looks like. Okay, so sure enough, we see that pitting that I saw had the black grease in it is a rather, see if I get the best angle on this, a rather prominent, I wouldn't quite call that Brunelling, but certainly pitting and scoring all around this race. And the inner race is similarly got little spalling marks on it, all little flakes of metal that get, you know, basically forged into the surface. And so what I think happened is, I'm not sure you can see this, camera doesn't focus that close, but if you look, there's a seal that's pressed onto this outer machine surface, and if you look in a couple of places, right here for instance, right there, yeah, there you go, see that, you see that little black smudge? That black smudge went all the way underneath the contact area of the seal. So that was an area for water to infiltrate the bearing. Right there. And there's another, I think there's another one next to it. Yeah, over here. There's two more spots where water could have infiltrated. So, let me get the seal. And this is the back seal, and it has a little bit of rubber on the outside that well, theoretically should have protected against that infiltration. But looking at the rubber closely, the surface is rather rough, kind of like an old dried out no longer functional windshield wiper. It has that kind of hard rubber pitted surface to it. And looking at the seal area in here, that rubber seems to have done nothing but hold water in that location. It just seems to have been like acted more like a sponge than a seal. So eventually water found its way under. This is the other seal, and markedly different. Same rubber edging on it. No evidence of rust whatsoever. Well, maybe a tiny bit, but it didn't infiltrate more than what, maybe a 64th So really, this seal did its job, and this seal failed miserably. So there you go. Sorry, Timken, but you got some QC issues here. I don't blame Ford for this. Well, it's a little undersized, but definitely a premature failure due to water infiltration. There you go. Okay, just to wrap this up. What I did here, got all cleaned up. I machined this down, about 1.5 thousandths, just to get a clearance on this bearing, and it's pretty good. That's a nice clearance fit. So I got the bad bearing here, good bearing down here, and sure enough, I mean, it's a dry bearing, but doesn't sound too bad. Throw this in there. A little noisier. In fact, if I spin just this bearing alone, I assume, and if I and that's pretty much the noise it was making on the car. Bad bearing. There's the tone wheel. Nothing seems, this is weird. The tone wheel, which I would think would be, critically spaced to the sensor, is nothing. It's not a press fit. There's nothing holding that onto this bearing race very, very snugly. I mean, it's just kind of a. It's kind of it's a nice snug fit, but it's not. It's a clearance fit. I mean, it's nothing holding it there. It's free to just float around in there. The only thing holding it in was grease. I don't know. I'm not an automotive engineer, so what do I know? That about wraps it up. Thanks for watching. And please, comment. Comments help me know what I'm doing good and what I'm doing bad, and what you like and what you don't. So comments are good, bad, or indifferent, always welcome. Thank you.